Tasha, hello. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. How
Oh,
are
good.
you?
I'm great, thanks.
Good,
Saturday
good.
night, Liverpool hopefully be winning tonight, and just
Hopefully.
enjoying the weekend. This the second time we've chatted, isn't it?
It is, it
Yeah,
is, yeah. Gonna have it now.
yeah. Since we've chatted, I know you've mentioned this on Twitter, but can I just say deepest sympathy for what you've been through in the past month or so?
Thank you, thank you.
I know it's a lot of people don't see what pressures, the hidden pressures that people are under.
Yeah, no, I've not hidden it from anybody. I've made a point of being very open because obviously I did take a step back from social media
Yeah.
for a good month. But I had been dealing with it. It's been 6 to 8 months beforehand that we'd been dealing with all of this um, pressure and anxiety,
Yeah.
and yeah, it ended rather abruptly in August,
Yeah.
and yeah, I've not hidden it from anybody. I've been very open because I want, if I can, to be able to help
Yeah.
anybody who may be in that same situation.
Mm. I know myself. I'll go to the doctors, at the very last minute. And my wife, she'll go at, at a drop of a hat, anything wrong. But
Yeah,
I don't like going. I don't like talking about feelings or anything that might be upsetting me. I tend to just
yeah,
keep it in.
yeah. No, my husband was the same up until well, Christmas. He'd kept it all in. I mean, he was just working because obviously, we had the lockdown,
Yeah.
and he locked himself away in the office, and we could see, and we kept saying to him, you don't need to work so hard, but he took it upon himself that he couldn't get out and about to check on the work, so he had to do extra at home, and he had burnout. And by the time he actually opened up and said, I need help, um, the limited resources and the time frame that um, we found ourselves in, um, it was just a little bit too late. He'd gone into a very dark place, and he couldn't see his way back out, no matter what we sort of said or did.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, yeah, he ended up, it got too much, and he took his own life.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's awful. So at the risk of sounding patronising, I think you're incredibly brave the way you've been so open about it. And I think if it's doing you good to actually speak about it rather than sort of pushing it to one
yeah, I mean,
side.
I won't lie. I've had a
Yeah.
breakdown.
Yeah.
I'm still off of work at the moment. I am trying to get myself back to work,
Yeah.
but um, it's been incredibly hard because I never thought that he would do anything like that. He'd
Mm.
threatened a couple of times, but he kept saying he was a coward and he wasn't going to do it. Um, and he waited for the one day that I went to work first thing in the morning. I wasn't there. Normally I'd start late and we'd all have breakfast together.
Yeah.
And he waited for the one day when I wasn't there. But having all the information that I've got now, he had planned it since the beginning of July. And we celebrated 22 years of marriage on the 24th of July.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, it was a huge shock, and I am suffering with severe post-traumatic stress disorder now, as well
Yeah.
as dealing with the grief. But from my point of view, when I learnt the actual figures of how many men are committing suicide for whatever reason, but the rate has gone up since January. You then have to say, actually, there is a stigma behind men and their feelings, and this had people we have to address this, and we have to start recognizing the symptoms more. We have to start listening more, looking out for the signs, and doing more if we can, because now I have all the information that I need, that had I had it before, he may still be here. But back then, it was very bitty. There wasn't a lot of information there. and the current figures are that 78% of all suicides are male, which is outrageously high.
Yeah.
So,
but have you managed to carry on writing? I know you've recently completed another milestone, haven't you, with the number of novels?
Yeah. Well, my 6th book was due out actually the day my husband died. So we postponed it, and I actually released it on his birthday, which was the 17th of September.
Yeah.
But I've been writing a daily diary, but I haven't written any more than just sort of notes, because a week after he died, there's a wonderful paranormal group that I currently sort of join, because they're nearby.
Yeah.
And they were like, come on, you need to get out, you need to just do something normal for just a couple of hours. You know, they've been keeping their eye on me.
Yeah.
And so I went out with them, and some of the experiences that we had, I came home and I wrote up all the notes ready to use in future books. So I haven't sort of sat down and done a lot of editing or done a lot of writing, but I have kind of set some paving stones, if you like, ready for when I feel more like I can sort of sit down and do that.
Yeah. It seems quite trivial now to talk about, I don't know, anyone's occupation after what we've just been chatting about, but is this your livelihood? Is this your main income come from the writing? Is this a part-time?
It doesn't. I'm actually, I have my own business. I'm a housekeeper.
Yeah.
And just before lockdown, I had about 16 clients who were all absolutely wonderful. And when the lockdown finished, I halved my hours, and I only have about 9 clients, but they are absolutely wonderful clients. And I do everything from their ironing to putting meals on for them. I do a little bit of cleaning and hoovering and walking the dog and all sorts, you know, as a housekeeper would.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just because I almost write almost full time, but it was just something to get me out of the house between 9 and 3 whilst my 2 younger children were at school. And it's something that I absolutely love doing. I came from being an executive head housekeeper in a hotel, so it's kind of second nature. So I just took it on as a bit of an extra income, you know, to splurge when you're on holiday and things. But I would love to do this full time, and I probably will within the next sort of 3 or 4 years. But it was a way of getting me out of the house as well, because obviously, you know, being in the house all the time, it did get to the stage where my husband used to complain that, you know, he'd use a towel and then I'd go straight in immediately and start, you know, refolding all the towels and things. And he was like, go out to work.
Should we come on to your novels? You've got 2. How many is there? I looked at your Amazon page and you have to scroll down a couple of times to get from the top to the bottom. I've got a list of them behind me.
So originally I wrote sci-fi fantasy. So I have 4 books out in a sci-fi fantasy. They are unedited.
Yeah,
that's the Tesla ones. They are unedited. They are just, I put them out there basically because then I had a copy of them, a physical copy of them.
Yeah, it makes you feel better.
And it made me feel good. And way back, that's just something that I wanted. But the paranormal fiction, there are actually 7 books, but I've just released. So there are. So I've got them here. I've got 6 in the series.
Yeah.
There's an extra book, which is about my real life experience, which was documented in book 3, The Music Box.
Yeah. On that one, Tasha, I've seen you. I watched a long clip on Facebook yesterday when you talk about the music box, and you've got this character, Grandpa Arthur.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
So Grandpa Arthur is he's an actual spirit. Basically, I had started being, because I live in a haunted house. It's over 300 years old, and I get a lot of activity, shall we say. And I started getting large footsteps through the house, and you felt the presence of a male spirit, and I could hear a music box. And it was a strange thing. It was only about 4 or 5 notes. They were a little tinny, a little warped. And then I started, it started out with some dreams about finding a music box. And everywhere that I went, because I was going on investigations, paranormal investigations, every 2 weeks. And everywhere I'd go, I'd be looking in all of the places I was going for this music box, because I was convinced I was going to come across this music box. Yeah. And I was interviewed by a lady for another paranormal event that they were doing online. And I happened to mention that I was looking for this music box, and suddenly all this information started coming in. And there were 8 people scattered across the UK who I'd never met, who had witnessed this Grandpa Arthur and his granddaughter Ella and this music box. And when he phoned me up the day after the interview, and when we started chatting about it, I said I'd already started writing these experiences into a book, because I would sit at my computer and I would almost suddenly sort of, you know how you get spaced out.
Yeah. When you enter the writing.
Yeah. And then when I sort of shook myself, there'd be like 20 pages of things that had happened. Yeah. But I'd already dreamt about them and I couldn't understand it. And these people had a Zoom meditation, and they knew some of this stuff, and things I was sharing with them and things they were sharing with me was validating each other. Yeah. And I went up and down the country, and in the end, just before Christmas it was, I went up to an area, the far side of Birmingham, known as the Black Country, or the Black County. Never been up there before. And I actually met the family who had photographs of Grandpa Arthur and Ella, the granddaughter, and they knew about this music box. They don't have the music box anymore, but the actual family exist. They still, because I'd put out an advert saying, you know, I need any information. And I went up and I met them and they showed me photographs. And it's just the most surreal but incredible thing that's ever happened to me.
I think
but he used to come in and visit, and he wasn't a very nice person. And I wove him into book 3 in the series, which was the music box. But I also had the real haunting of the music box. It's only a little thin book, but it was all about my experiences here and how I came to go up there and find the information that I found.
Do you find that as you're sort of writing about these experiences, that in a way it's sort of exercising emotions within you? Did you feel, I don't know, like sort of pressure off after you've completed the writing?
Yeah. Once I've been told by several mediums that I have mediumship tendencies, but also they've told me that they call me the releaser. And I've heard this from spirit myself. And basically they will come to me and I will trance or dream or just zone out, and I will come out with all this information. And then it's almost like once I've written it down, if the spirit wants it remembered as, you know, me putting it into a book, then they're free to move on. And the way it was explained to me was that there are some spirits who have nobody to mourn them anymore. They have no one left to remember them. Therefore, they're earthbound. But if somebody remembers them, if somebody knows their story, then they feel free to be released and to move on. And so the majority of my my books, there are, you know, all the places that Helen Sadler, the main character, visits, I visited. Some of the experiences that she's had are my experiences, because, you know, write what you know. But a lot of the spirits that are in there, especially in the new book, The Asylum, it was in an asylum, the spirits are ones that were there, and I didn't know anything about it until I got there. I always go in cold. And then there's a historian, and she has gone in and researched, and she will come back and validate anything that I come up with. And so far, it's spookily spot on.
Sounds like. Oh, Tasha, can I rewind a bit? Were you involved in a major accident, a major trauma that somehow sort of not released, or sort of gave you this channeling?
Near-death experience. So I had a major car accident, and
this before you started writing?
Before I started writing, I've been writing since I was about 5 years old, but not for books. You know, my loft is full of boxes full of manuscripts. But before I started writing, I had a horrific accident, and I lost 10% movement in my back and my neck, which gives me a lot of back pain. And also I went from having a photographic memory to one where I can remember things I said years and years ago, but I can't remember what I had for breakfast. It's just the way my brain works. So when I ended up having to have emergency surgery, and I had an experience where I remember being led on the operating table and seeing lots of different things going on. And apparently they had sedated me for a 45-minute operation, and I woke up on the table at the 2.5-hour marker. And I was bleeding out, so they had to then do an emergency anesthesia and knock me right out, because I was obviously feeling pain, and I was aware of what was going on, and my body reacted to all the sudden drugs, and I died. And when they eventually got me back, apparently they took me down into the recovery room, and I tried jumping off the trolley because I was like, I have to get out of here. But I was in a very dark place, and I remember moving forward and seeing a figure, and they were saying, you have to go back. And I was argumentative. No, I'm not going back. And it was so peaceful there. It was a feeling that I've never been able to recreate, whether I'm meditating or anything else. And I remember I had a fleeting thought about my children. And if you said to me now about that, I would be panicking, like, who's going to look after my children? But then I was kind of like, it's fine. And I had no concept of time. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't cold. I wasn't anything but just this amazing calm. And the voice of the figure in front of me said, you have to go back. And I was like, no, I'm not going back. I want to stay. And then I sensed my grandmother step forward, and she was like, you are going back. Well, you don't argue with my grandma. And bam, I was back again. And I ended up having 5 operations, and I died in 2 of those operations. And each time I was told, you're not done, you have to come back. And here I am.
A fighter.
Yes, obviously. I've got something to do. I can't figure out what it is. The universe is chucking lots at me at the moment, but I haven't cottoned on to whatever it is they're trying to tell me.
You're still sounding cheerful and well.
You have to. If I go to that deep dark place, I may never come out, and I have no choice now. I have to be strong. And I could sit here and say to you, well, I will say, and this is the honest truth, if I didn't have my children, I would not be here right now, because the pain that I've had to deal with is so great that I would rather not. But I have 4 amazing children. I'm so proud of each and every one of them. And my youngest is 10 years old. And it's part of my soul mission. There's something else that is my soul mission as well, but that is part and parcel of me, and I have to keep fighting. I have to.
Yeah, you have to give them all the love that you can and
Yeah,
help them
yeah,
grow up
yeah,
and look after them, protect them.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I've still got an awful lot to do.
Yeah. Are you finding, last time we chatted before COVID, oh, I can't remember. I've lost track of time in the last 18 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you been able to get back out on these ghost hunting tours that you used to go on?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I have. I with the paranormal team that I'm with at the moment, I still go off out with all the big teams and
Yeah.
do all the big events when I can. And they are out and about now. They're getting out and about. But I've done a few which are more local to me, that are private ones. So they're not, all these other big events have paranormal teams in every week. And I think some of them are a little overused, if you like.
Yeah.
Whereas the private ones I've been on now, it's been really strange because the guy that runs them, Lee, he's a lovely chap, and he'll get hold of me and say, "Oh, we're thinking of going to this 16th century inn. Are you interested?"
Yeah.
And he doesn't primarily tell me where it is. He'll just say something like that. And it's really funny because the last two events that I've been on with them, I actually was at the location the day before. Yeah. And one of them, I was on the way to rescue my mum. My mum had broken down, and I stopped. There was a car in front of me, and it stopped. It had a learner driver. It stalled, and I stopped, and I was outside this inn, and I just sort of looked at it and thought, you've got a bit of history. Didn't think anything of it. And the very next day, Lee got hold of me and said that we were going to that particular inn. Yeah. For an investigation. So then I reeled off all this stuff. Never been in there. I've only stopped outside. Yeah. And when we got to the event that evening, he validated everything that I'd said, because he'd spoken then to the historian, and she'd got back and said, this, and this happened. And never been in there. I'd only stopped outside of there the day before he mentioned that we were going there.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
But it's happened twice to the last two places. But because it's private, there's only maybe 6 to 8 of us. Yeah. So you can really get in there, and you can sort of segregate yourself and have your own little area, if you like, to do all the pieces that you want. Whereas when you go on public ones, you're moving around, and you've got all the public, and they're asking questions about the equipment and why are you doing this, and how do you know. When you go on your own private ones, you can just get in there and get investigating.
The serious group. I think Deja Vu, I think most people get them, occasionally, but it sounds as though it's, you're living a day by day Deja Vu.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is, for example, the last, the one before we've just been to, they asked if I would go back and do a cleansing. So I went back to do a cleansing, and I was talking to the landlord, and I was saying to her, you have a guy called Henry here. He's a previous landlord. And she was like, no, I don't have him here. We have an agreement. I told him that he wasn't allowed to be in the pub when, it's my pub now. And I said, no, he's here. I said, and the reason I know, and I know that his name is Henry, is because he's just told me to look at the wall. And there's a couple of tables across from where I was stood. And she had a wall that she'd wallpapered, and it had lots of little like labels, like bottle labels all over the wall. And I couldn't read any. I wasn't that close to read them, but you could just see the outline of them. And I said, if you look, I said, he's just told me that one of those labels says Chateau Henry or Chateau Henri. I said, it's in French. I said, but he's telling me that his name is on that wall. And lo and behold, she walked over and she said, I put this wallpaper up. I don't know, I haven't stopped to read it. It was just pretty labels. And she moves down and she said, oh my goodness, there is one that says Chateau Henry. And I was like, oh, there you go. And then I said to her, somebody's just told me there's a bottle in a wall with a message. Well, she'd actually put the bottle she put the message in the bottle and cemented it into the wall, and it was tucked down behind a chair over near like the old section, and she'd actually put it in there. I'd never been there before. I'd come down past from on my way home from Charmouth the week before, and my little one had said, you know, oh, there's a pub with a particular name there. And I said, oh, yeah. And, you know, I'm driving, so I'm not taking much notice. And it happened to be the exact same pub that I had to go back and do a cleansing in.
That's strange. Very, very, very strange indeed.
So, yeah, it's whatever's happening to me is getting stronger.
Yeah.
I just go with the flow now.
Do you take specialised equipment? I saw something you put on there, Twitter. By the way, shall I put your Twitter name at the end of this one, the edit, the video?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah.
The equipment, it looked like a musical box or a sound box.
Yes.
Electronic gadget.
I've been when because of the events that happened with the music box haunting, every time I hear music box music, it brings up anxiety straight away. I get goosebumps all over. But you can get this little, I've got it here, it's not plugged in. It's a little gadget. Yeah. And basically it plays musical notes when it senses anything, and the little light goes off. So any movement on this front piece here, it'll play about 5 or 6 notes. Yeah. And generally you just set it up on the floor or on a surface, and anything that walks past it, it will set it off. Yeah. And I decided I was going to get a music box. I'd wanted one for quite a while, but the anxiety of having gone through the music box saga, as we call it here, I was very nervous. But I've got a lot of new equipment, and the music box is one of them.
Oh, just before I forget, I made a note when you were talking earlier about that. Yeah. You're all these strangers all hearing this music box. Was it the same notes? Well, I think a music box, there's only like a limited sort of, I don't know, range of chords or notes within that. Was it all very similar?
It wasn't, because I think this one is Swan Lake. They were very, very warped. I've not pinned down the tune yet, but what I can say is it was just 5 notes over and over and over and over. And I'd be trying to go to sleep at night, and you'd suddenly hear this music box and the 5 notes going over. And it turned out that the young girl Ella, she had Down syndrome, and she was given a music box, and every time she opened it, it would play. And at first I kept seeing this box, and I thought it was apple blossom on the top, but it wasn't. It was roses. But she had a little sprig of apple blossom inside, dried apple blossom inside. And it was stopping the mechanism with a few other bits. I won't spoil it for the readers. Okay. With a few other bits in there, which is part and parcel of the story. But all I could hear was these 5 notes over and over and over. And so two of the people within the meditation had seen this girl holding this box, and one of the mediums had drawn her and painted her. And then I came along and described her and showed them a picture of what I had, and it all was the same.
Notes here, a thermal imager. Is that another bit of kit that you just bought?
Another of my gadgets. So you can when you're in different places, for example, I go to Shepton Mallet Prison quite a lot. You will get hot and cold spots. Now the prison isn't primarily heated, so you would think it was quite cool everywhere. But you can be stood there and suddenly you'll get a cold chill, but there's no windows open, there's no door been opened, everybody's stood still. And so we used the thermal imager in the inn that we've just been to, and they had what they call an SLS camera, which is it's a little flat screen, and basically it shows figures as stick figures. And if it picks up, so if somebody was stood at the bar, like a proper person, you would see a stick figure. And sometimes you get a little stick figure appear next to them, but there's nobody stood physically next to them. And with the thermal imager, I've had the same outline next to the person who was stood there. Because they've said, oh, it's gotten a bit warm here, or it might be a little bit cold next to me. And the two have validated each other perfectly.
Okay.
It's really strange how it all ties in and works. But yeah.
Your fiction, there's a large element of authenticity there. It's real life, but woven into fiction, into a story.
Yeah, well, I had the story. I had the idea of Helen Sadler because I started off with her having a major accident, and then I wanted to explore the spiritual side of it, and I was thinking angels and things like this, and then I went on my first paranormal investigation, and I was just like, this is why I went on the paranormal investigation. This is what you need to put into your books. This is what it needed. And so I just wove my experiences into hers and added it to the main premise of the story that I had. And lo and behold, I'm actually writing book 9, but book 6 has just come out of the series. So crazy.
You've got Kindle, paperback.
Yeah,
is it hardcover now as well?
Hardcover now, yeah. So I'm very proud of my hardcovers.
Do you know what? I'm looking at doing one myself. Did you have to do a reformatting and all the text and things for that, or does it just slot in?
No, it doesn't. But I was.
It's bigger, isn't it? The size.
Yeah, the lady who does all my covers.
Yeah, brilliant covers, by the way. I meant to mention that.
Thank you. Yeah, she does my covers, and she will give me the covers so that I can just pop them onto when you come in to do the hardcovers. You can do them yourself. You can get the front and backs done as I would like my paperbacks. But I generally tend to slot them in and make them work myself. And just pop them on. But the hardbacks are doing really well, actually. It's surprising how many people prefer a hardback rather than a paperback.
They're more expensive. The Amazon cost for
Yeah, they are. And at the moment, I do believe that Amazon.co.uk are not actually printing these themselves. If, like, as authors, we get them at print cost. You can't do that with the hardbacks. You have to have what public are being charged for your books, and they come from Europe. They're not actually doing the hardbacks here in the UK, whereas they print the paperbacks here, but they're not geared up for the hardbacks at the moment.
So it's extra delivery costs then on top.
It's extra everything is more expensive with them, unfortunately. But that's, I suppose, the cost of having them as a hardback.
True.
But my books, when you come to be allowed to do them in hardback, you also have the option of having all your books. So libraries and bookstores can now order my books from Amazon.
Oh, that's better.
In bulk as well, whereas before you could only order via Amazon. Now libraries, my local library stock my books, and local stores can they can order your book in and have on their shelves as well.
Barnes and Noble in the States as well.
Excellent. So I have had my advertisement in the Haunted magazine, which Barnes and Noble now take across across the world in their stores. So that's been a good source as well.
Good. The one you just showed, Then I Never Left, that's the one I've read. I'm going to order that for the hardback. I've read my review on Amazon.
First one.
Really enjoyed that.
So all of my books, other than the 5th book, which was The Toy Train, are in hardback, and that's mainly because it was 99 pages and not 100 pages, and they won't print anything below 100 pages. And it just so happened that story, it is kind of what people have read it and they've said it's almost like it's been cut short, but that's because you need the next set of books.
It's an introduction, isn't it?
It follows on, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah, fair enough. Have you had to look at doing audio works of the books?
I have. It's an expensive hobby. I have got my eye on a chap who does audio for a series of books that I've actually been reading on audio.
Yeah.
And I like his style.
Yeah.
The really good ones like himself are A, expensive,
Yeah.
and B, they are booked up for the next 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And
I waited a year to get someone to do mine.
Yeah. I mean, his work is really good, but they are in so demand because audio is a big thing.
Yes, it's booming, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know you've got the offer, the way I did a royalty share, you can either pay the producer, the narrator of your book, and then you get 40%, but you have to pay off, I don't know, maybe 5,000, thousands of pounds, depending on how popular they are. Or you can do a royalty share where you get 20% each between yourself and the producer.
Yeah. No, there's lots of options out there, but it's getting the one that you feel is going to be right for your stories, and it's got to be right, because if I have read a few books, listened to a few books on audio. I'm a big audio listener, and you get the odd one and you just think, oh, their voice is grating on me now. They're not, if I've read the book and they're not saying it the way it was sort of written down, and it's kind of ruining it. Whereas, the ones that I've sort of got my eye on, they say it how it is, kind of thing, in the book. And that's what you want. You want it told the right way so that it captures, and you want the next book.
We have to wait. Tasha, I'm aware of the time now. It's clock's running down. This has flown by in about 2 minutes. Can we chat again sometime?
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Keep in touch on Twitter. Is there anything I should have asked that you wanted me to ask? Anything you wanted to highlight?
I don't know. It's all kind of been there, isn't it? It's all.
I think so.
It's all in the books. You got to read the books.
What I'm going to do when I post the video out, I'll put a link. Is it the Amazon page? Is that the best link you think I should put?
Unless they want a signed copy, which I normally do here from home and then send out. My post office loves me. I've just sent out about 30 copies to beta readers and fans who've messaged me and said they wanted, that they follow my work, and they wanted the next one, signed and sent out. So I've just done that.
Okay. So I'll say contact Earth Angel Tasha if you want to sign a copy.
And they can get hold of them. Otherwise, go to Amazon, and they're all there. And I think Amazon have got some book offers on at the moment, so they're offering like 3 or 4 of my books in one bulk that you can get. The latest one, The Asylum, it's actually one of my favorite, and the way it ends, I hate cliffhangers, and I'm not saying this is a cliffhanger, but you will need the next book to find out just what the last couple of chapters really were implying. It kind of leaves a couple of loose ends, and it is my favorite because the next 2 books actually involve a spirit of a girl who I actually knew back in my childhood, and it wasn't until recently that I found out what had happened to her, and I've already written it down in my books. It's already there. So when I was told, when I made some some investigation on it, I was told what had happened. I was like, oh, actually, I've already written that down. So it kind of became a little bit more personal than I thought it was going to be. So
well, Tasha, time's gonna shut us down, but in about 3 minutes, I think. I've really enjoyed chatting to you again.
Oh, thank you. No, I've enjoyed it. It's been nice to do something normal. do something that's just that I haven't done in a while. And I as you know, I like talking.
I'm delighted that you do. I'm the quiet type. I'll sit back. I'll ask a question and sit back and listen all day.
Yeah. No, it's been good. It's been good.
Good. I'm glad of that. So let's keep in touch on Twitter as we normally do.
Definitely.
And let's talk again soon, Tasha.
Absolutely, would love to. Would love to.
Brilliant.
Fabulous.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And you take care.
You too.
Cheers, Tash. Bye now.